Hi, Mom. You were in the hospital for malnutrition. Weren't you eating properly? I've been sending you money. Yeah, thank you for that. But 60 cents. You know the fee costs more than that, so don't worry about it. 60 cents? What do you mean? I'm broke and I've been living a frugal life, cutting down on food and utility expenses. Eventually, I collapsed from malnutrition. My eldest son, Raymond, has been sending me 60 cents every month. I told him it's not the amount but the thought that counts. I thought I'd been sending you 100 a month. Soon, shocking truths were revealed one after another from Raymond. I am Caroline. I am turning 80 this year. I lost my husband 5 years ago, and now I live alone in an old apartment. Since getting married, I have been a full-time housewife, relying on my own pension and my husband's survivor's pension as my only income. Life is not easy, and I have been cutting corners day by day. Of course, I save on food expenses as well as utilities and water bills, and I barely get by living in a cheap apartment. Today, it has been lightly snowing since morning, but I don't turn on the heater to save electricity. I wear a down jacket and layer warm pants in the house to stave off the cold. My fingers are chapped and bleeding from doing chores with cold water. I have frostbite on my left hand, which is swollen and red-black as I rub my stiff fingertips while cleaning up after lunch. My daughter-in-law, Samantha, comes to visit. Hello, mother-in-law. I brought this week's medicine. It's the usual $80. Samantha brings me medicine every week. Raymond also cares for me, but he's busy as a pharmacist at a large hospital, so Samantha looks after me. A few years ago, Samantha accompanied me to the hospital for checkups, but recently she only delivers the medicine. It's cheaper this way, she says. Honestly, the medicine is a big expense for me, who is broke. However, I am told that stopping the medication will cause discomfort, so I have it delivered every week. Samantha used to be a pharmacist at a hospital like Raymond. However, she quit her job after getting married and now works part-time at a local drugstore. I'm always grateful for your help, Samantha. By the way, do you know anything about the box of rice crackers I had stored in the drawer? The one with the kids' scribbles on the lid. It's been missing since last week. I point to the dresser in the back. Last week, I had Samantha tidy up around the dresser, but the box has been missing ever since. Inside the box, I kept my hard-earned savings, a box of rice crackers. I don't know anything about that. Maybe you put it somewhere and forgot about it. Can you not blame me? Samantha, perhaps hurt by the suspicion, took the money for the medicine and left with an unpleasant look on her face. I can't argue with that. After putting away the medicine, I grabbed my cane and went toward the post office. Today is the end of the month. Since my husband passed away 5 years ago, I have had no other income than my pension. My son Raymond, concerned for me, has been sending me money every month. My bank book, spit out from the ATM as usual, had deposit 60 cents written on it. The amount sent was so little that the transfer fees seemed to cost more, but it's the thought that counts. Though it doesn't help much with daily life, I am grateful for it. After leaving the post office, I headed to my regular greengrocer. Since I visited every week, I became quite familiar with the energetic owner Dane, who is in his 60s. When I went to the store just before closing, I could get unsold or bruised vegetables at a discount. I always went to the store in the evening, targeting those discounts. Today, I got bruised turnips and radishes and wilting spinach. I thanked Dane and went home to pickle all the turnips and radishes in my homemade brine. The secret brine pickles I've been making for years as a hobby and to save money are excellent in both flavor and texture. I had a simple but delicious dinner of spinach and pickles. Lately, my health has been deteriorating. I feel dizzy when I stand up and I get short of breath just from moving a little. My nails and fingertips are also in bad shape. Perhaps my body is weak because I haven't been eating well due to cutting food expenses. I've had health issues before, but I never paid much attention, thinking it was due to age. But recently, the pain in my body is unbearable and the dizziness is terrible. I tried calling Samantha to see if she could take me to the hospital. The hospital, just for dizziness. Well, I'm old, so it might be inevitable. But I'm worried. I haven't been to the hospital in years. Could you take me for once? But I'm busy. I don't have time. Raymond is working non-stop too. I'm sorry, but can we do it another time? It's not that urgent. Samantha refused to accompany me to the hospital. Even the nearest hospital is quite far from my home. Being broke, I can afford not only the medical fees, but even the transportation costs. Oh, and please don't contact Raymond. He's in a crucial period at work. If anything happens, please contact me. Samantha emphasized that and then hung up the phone. I sighed and took my medicine with cold water. One day, as I was chatting with Dane at my usual greengrocer, I was hit by another severe bout of dizziness. Unable to support myself with a cane, I squatted down on the spot. Dane rushed over. "Are you okay?" and peered into my face. The dizziness didn't subside even when I sat down. "I'm just feeling a bit dizzy. Nothing is wrong. I'm fine." As I said that, I tried to stand up forcefully. Suddenly, the world spun around and I fainted. When I woke up, I found myself in a hospital bed. Dane was sitting beside me, receiving an IV drip. I heard the story from Dane. Apparently, after I collapsed at the greengrocer's, he called an ambulance for me. I had slept all night since being brought to the hospital, and it was already bright outside. The doctor explained that I had anemia due to severe malnutrition. Unbeknownst to me, my bones had become hollow, and my body was in a more serious condition than I thought. I was worried about the treatment costs and wanted to leave early, but the doctor told me I had to be hospitalized for a week. "Caroline, I always tell you to eat properly. I was shocked when you suddenly collapsed." Dane had always been concerned about my health. "Sorry for making you worry, but I don't have any money." "Didn't you have an eldest son? He's a doctor or something, right? He must be earning a good salary working at a hospital, so he could at least send you some money." "He's a pharmacist. I've been receiving support from him." I smile awkwardly and close my mouth. "I receive a monthly allowance from Raymond, but it's too small to help with my living expenses. With the weekly medicine fee I pay to Samantha, even my pension has been significantly reduced. Dane says I should get more money, but I'm hesitant to accept money earned by others, even if they're family. However, what worries me now is the hospitalization cost. With my barely getting by lifestyle, I can't imagine affording such high medical bills. Also, I'm concerned about my precious rice brine pickles. If I don't stir them every 3 days, they'll go bad." After thanking Dane for returning to the store, I searched for my cell phone to contact Samantha. Looking at the screen, I saw that the battery had died. I don't remember Samantha's number, but I memorized Raymond's because it's similar to my home number. Samantha told me not to contact Raymond, but with things like this, I can't avoid it. I borrowed the hospital phone to call Raymond. "Hello? Oh, thank goodness. It's been a while since we connected, Raymond. It's your mother. Sorry to call you during work." Samantha had forbidden it, but I called Raymond from time to time. I just wanted to hear his cheerful voice, but for some reason, he never answered my calls. Was he too busy with work to answer the phone? Anyway, I was relieved that the phone connected during this crucial time. I thought, who could this be? "It's been a while since you called, Mom. Where are you calling from?" I was reluctant to worry my eldest son, but I admitted I was in the hospital. I briefly explained to the surprised Raymond how I had collapsed and been hospitalized. "What? Malnutrition, Mom? Haven't you been eating properly? I've been sending you money for that reason." "Yes, I'm really grateful for that. Your support means a lot to me, but 60 cents might cost more in fees, so don't worry too much." 60 cents fees? What do you mean? With a puzzled tone, I told Raymond how I received 60 cents from him every month and that I appreciated the gesture more than the amount. "I thought I was sending more money to Mom," Raymond finally speaks, as if squeezing out the words. "Wait, I'm curious about that too. But you mentioned malnutrition, right? Mom should have been going to the hospital every month, and she should be getting her medicine. Hasn't the doctor said anything until now?" "Yeah, I'm getting the medicine. Samantha delivers it to the house every week. I haven't been to the hospital in years. Lately, I've been having bad dizziness and palpitations, and I wanted to go to the hospital if possible. But Samantha said I'm busy, so maybe next time. Just the medicine every week." Raymond seems to be worried about something as he mumbles on the phone. "Anyway, I know you're busy, but could you please bring me some clothes and the insurance card on your next day off? And I'd like you to mix the rice brine pickles every 3 days, all right? I have the keys to our parents' house, so I'll leave work early today and go there. Don't worry about the hospital bills. I'll be there by evening." Raymond seems strangely preoccupied, but I'm grateful he can come right away. "Thanks. Be sure to wash your hands well and mix the pickles with your bare hands, Mom. I'm here. How are you feeling? Are you okay?" After the call, Raymond shows up in the afternoon. It seemed he left work early. As he organizes the clothes and personal belongings he brought from the house, he asks me in detail about recent events, about the house, my health, The medicine, Samantha. It's like a continuation of this morning's phone call. He also brought my bank book from home, and we opened it to check the contents together. From the date 5 years ago, there's a series of deposit 60-cent entries. Raymond glares at them with a fierce expression. Since this morning's call, Raymond's behavior has been strange. Did something happen at work? I thought he must have been very busy, as I had tried calling him 2 or 3 times a month, but never got through, and he never returned my calls. I feel bad for making him leave work early today. I casually apologize for it, and Raymond is taken aback and asks rapid-fire questions. He quickly takes out his smartphone and starts operating it intently as soon as he hears my story. What's been going on with him? Raymond gazes at the screen for a while, then operates his smartphone again to send a message to Samantha. He then grabs his backpack and says, "I'll be back shortly." He leaves the room, leaving behind a strange sense of unease, but I lie down in bed anyway. That evening, Raymond returns to the room. He puts down his backpack and asks how I'm feeling. After receiving an IV and sleeping in a warm bed for the first time in a while, I feel much better. While snacking on fruit and chatting, Samantha comes into the room. "Oh, mother-in-law, how are you feeling?" "Raymond, you took time off work, huh?" She approaches us with a forced smile and sits in the chair next to Raymond. Raymond didn't reply, looking down and gripping my bank book into his hand. Before I could say anything, Raymond spoke up with a voice lower than usual. "Samantha, Mom's malnourished. Do you know why?" Samantha stayed silent. There was a tense atmosphere. Raymond turned to face Samantha, glaring at her head-on. "Mom's been broke for so long, barely able to buy food. It's not just food, she's been cutting back on electricity and gas, living on the edge for years. When I went to her place today, there wasn't even a heater in the dead of winter." "Well, wait, Raymond, we're in a hospital. What happened? It's not Samantha's fault. There's no money." I tried to calm down the yelling eldest son while hiding my frostbitten, swollen, red-black hand. Ignoring me, Raymond continued with an angry tone. "I asked you to send $1,100 to Mom every month, right? But she's only received 60 cents for the last 5 years, Samantha. What's going on?" Saying that, Raymond thrust my bank book at Samantha. On every page, there was the number 60 cents. I couldn't believe my ears. I don't remember ever receiving $1,100. The money from Raymond was always 60 cents. Samantha, cornered by the furious Raymond, looked away from the bank book and fell silent. "That's not all. I give you $150 every week for Mom's medical expenses and medication, right? You said you were using the leftover money to buy her necessities and groceries, but they were only withered vegetables in her room. The fridge was empty." "Be quiet. I gave her the medicine." "What kind of medicine? Without a doctor's prescription, you decided to prescribe it yourself." "All that was in Mom's house were basic vitamins. You bought some random vitamins at the drugstore where you work, put them in a medicine-like bag, and handed them over, didn't you? What were you thinking?" Raymond's tone was stern. "I had no choice. I needed the money," Samantha yelled back to the furious Raymond. Even though this was a private room, we were still in a hospital. As I was shocked by the contents of the eldest son and his wife's conversation, I felt anxious. "You needed money, so you stole Mom's precious savings from her dresser too." With that, Raymond pulled a crushed box out of his backpack. On the lid was a drawing of my husband and me, drawn by Raymond when he was a child. It was the box of rice crackers I had been searching for the last week. I too was so shocked that I gasped. "What? No way." I didn't want to believe it either, but I found it while searching through our trash after you said it disappeared a week ago. "He really did it, didn't you?" Faced with undeniable proof, Samantha turned pale and lost her words. "So what did you do with the $250,000 that was in this box, huh? And the $1,100 you were supposed to send to Mom every month? The hospital fees and the medicine fees, where did it all go?" Raymond demanded. "Stop nagging, there's no money left." Samantha, who had been trembling as she stared at the box, eventually stood up, knocking over her chair, and yelled back defiantly, "It's all your fault anyway. You always ignored me and focused on your mother. Ben is way better than your husband." "Ha! Ben? He's the coolest host at the club around here. I've been supporting him, and soon he'll be #1. He said he's saving all the money I've given him for our life together." Samantha excitedly continued talking. Both Raymond and I stared at her blankly. I didn't quite understand, but it seemed she had fallen for a man and was providing him with money. Apparently, she needed a lot of money for that. All right, Samantha, I get it. Let's get a divorce right here for the sake of your life with this bang guy. Raymond quietly said this and took out the divorce papers and his seal from his backpack, placing them on the side table. I never want to see your face again. Sign the divorce papers here, pack your things tonight, and leave the house. I'll stay at the hospital tonight. Raymond's voice was firm, leaving no room for negotiation. What? Don't be so selfish. You can't just suddenly. Samantha, do you even realize what you've done? Faking medicine, stealing money. If you don't want a divorce, we can go straight to the police instead. Samantha, who had been so confident, flinched under Raymond's intimidating gaze and eventually started making tearful excuses. I had no choice. My part-time job wasn't enough. I took a little from the money you sent and the medicine fees, but I know it was wrong. Besides, neither you nor your mother noticed for years, right? You both share some responsibility. Enough. I don't know when you did it, but you went through my phone and blocked Mom's number. You even told her not to contact me, didn't you? You deliberately kept us apart and exploited her without getting caught. Raymond's anger was palpable as he slammed the divorce papers on a table with his fist. Samantha flinched. Anyway, Samantha, this is goodbye. I'll make sure you pay back every penny you've taken from us. Remember that. If you don't, we're going to the police. Raymond's voice was resolute. Finally realizing the gravity of her actions, Samantha couldn't say anything and signed the divorce papers with tears in her eyes. Samantha left the house that night, as Raymond had told her to, almost like she was running away. In exchange for not reporting her to the police, Raymond made sure to demand repayment of the money she'd taken. The amount she'd taken for the last 5 years since my husband's death, including the money for living expenses and medicine. In total, it amounted to over $900,000. I was shocked. Samantha later lost contact with the host she had given so much money to and went berserk in the club, getting herself banned. Bad rumors seemed to spread from nowhere, and before she knew it, they reached her part-time job, resulting in her being fired. With her income gone and not a penny to her name, Samantha couldn't rent an apartment and had to spend some time sleeping in internet cafes. But what happened to her after that is unknown. I had almost given up on getting back the money Samantha had taken as she had disappeared. But her family, who learned of the situation, decided to repay the debt in small amounts on her behalf. It might be difficult to recover the full amount of stolen money, but I was happy with their gesture. After being discharged from the hospital, I decided to leave with Raymond. We're living peacefully together in the house Samantha left, just the two of us. I had been forced to live a difficult life, being exploited by Samantha, but now, in our warm, comfortable home, I'm eating well, and my health has improved. Dane, the greengrocer who has always been worried about me, finally felt relieved. I still continue to make my specialty pickles. I used to do it just as a hobby and for saving money, but now, with Raymond's help, we're sharing information on how to make good pickles and delicious pickle recipes. In a few years, my pickle channel became hugely popular, possibly because an 80-year-old content creator was a novelty. And now, it brings in an amazing income. I had always thought that making money was impossible for me, as I had never worked as a full-time employee. But even I can be useful to others. More than earning money, I've come to know the happiness of bringing joy to others and now live a fulfilling life every day.
Your mom and dad are really sick. You have to come back home right away. I begged Tyler to help, but he was mean. He said, "I'm busy with my friends. Deal with it yourself. You're probably making it sound worse than it is, right? I gotta go." I tried to talk to him again, but he hung up on me. 2 weeks later, when Tyler got home, I told him, "They're both gone. Their funerals are done." Tyler looked shocked and confused. "What do you mean both? Are you joking?" he asked me, scared. "No joke. I called you 2 weeks ago about your mom and dad being very sick," I told him. "But why didn't you tell me earlier?" Tyler was speechless. "My name is Jessica Atkins. I'm 56, and I take care of the house full-time. I used to work at an office, but I quit when I got married. I met Tyler in college. I joined the tennis club because a friend asked me to. I didn't know how to play. I just wanted to have fun. But Tyler, who was in charge, was serious about tennis. He'd get mad if you couldn't keep up during practice. Because I was new at tennis, I couldn't even hit the ball with my racket, and Tyler would get mad at me. He'd say, Jessica, seriously. You're just getting in the way. Go do something else and make me leave the court. His words made me feel really embarrassed. Most of the time, I was only allowed to pick up the balls, hardly ever getting to play. I got so frustrated that I practiced tennis at home. Maybe all that practice paid off. One day, when Tyler served the ball, I hit it back really well. Tyler looked surprised because he thought I'd miss. But then he said, "Jessica, that was amazing," with a big smile. In that moment, I realized I had feelings for him. After that, Tyler kept being strict, and I kept trying hard to keep up with his tough training. Then one day, after a while, we were out with friends for our monthly get-together. We do this to strengthen our friendships outside of our usual group activities. On our way home from one of these gatherings, it was just me and Tyler. Suddenly, he told me he had feelings for me. "Jessica, I've fallen for you. I want us to be together." I was surprised. Tyler had never shown any signs of liking me before. But I also had feelings for him. So I said, "I like you too. Let's give it a try." That was the start of our relationship. Tyler wanted to keep our relationship a secret from our club friends to not affect the team spirit. But I was so in love with him at that time. I was just happy to be with him. We kept dating even after we finished college, and we got married when I was 26. I quit my job as Tyler asked when we got married. I'll always be there for Tyler, I thought. At that time, I was deeply in love, imagining a bright future with Tyler. It's been 30 years since Tyler and I tied the knot. In the beginning, we went on lots of dates and were really close. But as time passed, things started feeling a bit ordinary. Even I didn't put as much effort into my looks as I did when I was younger. I used to wear trendy clothes and always look stylish when going out with Tyler. I remember spending a lot of time on my makeup, but now I'm more relaxed about how I dress. Comfort is key for me these days, so I prefer loose skirts with elastic waists over ones with zippers. Since I stay home most of the time, I don't bother with makeup from morning to night. I can't even remember the last time I wore any. Some people might think I've let myself go. Compared to my younger days, my body has changed quite a bit. I used to be slim, but not anymore. I've gained weight and now look like the before pictures you see on weight loss shows. Maybe this change in how I look is one reason why our relationship feels routine now. Over time, I've noticed Tyler treating me more like a mom than a wife. Even though I'm not his mother, he sometimes jokes, "Mom, can I get another coffee?" By the way, Tyler's mom still lives nearby, about a 10-minute walk from us, along with his dad. But we live in separate homes. My in-laws are really kind and always worry about me. Because they're so caring, I wanted to support them, so I visited them a lot. But recently, their health has been getting worse. My father-in-law is fighting a serious illness, and the doctors say there's not much more they can do. With tears in his eyes, he told my mother-in-law and me, "I want to spend my last days at home." So he left the hospital and is now getting special care at home. Taking care of my father-in-law all by herself, my mother-in-law looks exhausted, and she seems really sad. As a stay-at-home wife, I help take care of my in-laws almost every day, but I know it must be really hard for my mother-in-law to live with him all the time. It's tough, Jessica. Could you stay with us just for one night? She asks me, looking vulnerable. I'm sorry. Tyler comes home at night, I say, even though it hurts to turn her down. I understand. My mother-in-law says sadly when I say no. Every night, I have to take care of Tyler. Tyler is a very bossy husband and never helps with anything around the house. He just leaves his dirty socks everywhere. I have to make sure dinner is ready and warm when Tyler gets home. There's no way I can serve leftovers. If he finds out, he'll get really angry. Once I was late getting home because I was taking care of my father-in-law. When I finally got back, Tyler was furious. "You should put me first instead of my dad. I'm your family, remember?" He yelled at me, his face all red. I wanted to remind him that my father-in-law is his family too. But I stayed quiet because I knew arguing would only make things worse. Because of moments like this, I'd always have to prioritize Tyler. Every day feels so tight and stressful. As a stay-at-home wife, I feel guilty and can't stand up to Tyler. I couldn't help my sad mother-in-law. I could only look at her with worry. Lately, Tyler's been coming home late a lot, and he never tells me. Sometimes, he even comes home on the last train. You're late again. Tyler came home after midnight one night. I'm back, he said happily. His face was red, and he seemed a bit drunk. Did you go drinking again? You've been coming home late so often, I asked, taking the bag he handed me. I'd earned the money, so I'll spend it how I want, Tyler replied. But you're just a stay-at-home wife, so you should just obey me, Tyler replied gruffly. But don't you think it's happening too often? Who are you going out with all the time? Their families might be worried too, I hesitantly asked Tyler. Maybe you're making people go drinking with you. You've been with the company for so long and hold a high position. It's hard for most people to say no to that. Tyler replied with a smug smile. It's fine. I always go drinking with the same coworker. Plus, he lives alone and is single. He's always happy when I buy him a drink, Tyler said smugly. I couldn't say anything back. Being a stay-at-home wife without much say in things, I had an idea and decided to talk to Tyler about it. Could you tell me beforehand when you're going out for drinks? Your mom seems really stressed, and your dad's not doing well either. I want to be there for them as much as possible. But Tyler laughed off my concerns. No way. I go out when I feel like it. Besides, Mom will handle Dad. Jessica, you should be all for me. As I was shocked by Tyler's harsh words, he said, Stop standing there and get the bath ready. You're so slow with it, and he quickly went to the bathroom. Yes, I'm sorry. All I could do was reply like that. Then one day, Tyler suddenly said to me, I'm going on a trip for 2 weeks starting next week. While I stood there in shock, Tyler cheerfully looked through a guidebook, thinking about what he'd eat. And he was planning to go to Australia. Regaining my composure, I asked Tyler, Why the sudden international trip? What about your job? And I don't even have a passport. Tyler seemed a bit annoyed by my questions. I got a bonus, so I thought I'd just go for it. I've already asked for time off from work, and I'm not taking you, Jessica, so you don't need a passport, right? Tyler answered casually. We haven't even had a proper honeymoon since we got married. Who are you going with? I asked Tyler. Even for day trips, Tyler would say it's a waste of money and never took me along. Now this sudden international trip, it seemed suspicious. I looked at Tyler intently. I'm going with a coworker, Tyler replied. Now hurry up and get dinner ready. I realized it would be hard to question him further. Tyler probably wouldn't answer me if I kept asking, and he might even get angry. Though I felt frustrated, I reluctantly started preparing dinner. And on that day, Tyler set off for his trip early in the morning. But by noon, I found myself desperately calling him. What do you want? I'm about to board a plane for an international trip. Can't you see I'm busy? Tyler snapped at me as soon as he answered. My in-laws are in critical condition. Please, can't you cancel your trip and come home immediately? I pleaded desperately with Tyler. If he hadn't boarded the plane yet, there was still time, or so I thought. But Tyler's response was harsh. I'm on vacation with my colleague. Deal with it on your own. You're probably making it sound worse than it is. I'm busy. Gotta go now. Bye. Wait a second. I tried to reach out to Tyler, but he hung up on me anyway. No matter how many times I called back, he didn't answer. You'll regret this, I muttered to myself. 2 weeks later, I'm back. Tyler came in cheerfully, carrying a big suitcase. I went up to Tyler, feeling angry and upset, and said, Both their funerals are over. What? Tyler looked confused, like he didn't understand. What do you mean by both their funerals? Are you playing some kind of sick joke? Tyler panicked, questioning me. I sighed deeply at Tyler's reaction. It's not a joke. Don't you remember? I called you 2 weeks ago, telling you your parents were really sick. I reminded Tyler. But why so suddenly? Tyler trailed off, unable to find the words, and I found myself sitting on the floor. When I went to see your parents, They both had collapsed and looked really pale. I called an ambulance in a panic, but the doctor said they were both in critical condition. Your dad needed care for a while, and your mom hadn't been well lately. It was just a series of unfortunate events. I explained to Tyler, feeling detached as I recounted what had happened leading up to my in-laws' critical condition. I'm heartbroken that my in-laws ended up like this. I was at their house almost every day and still couldn't save them in time. To this day, I regret not going there sooner. But right now, I'm just so angry at Tyler. My in-laws are his real parents, yet Tyler chose himself over them until the very end. No matter how much I begged, Tyler always put himself first. Remembering the tired look on my mother-in-law's face just makes me even angrier at Tyler. I said to Tyler, who remained silent with a grim expression. He probably can't accept what happened. I decided to confront Tyler further. It's your fault, isn't it? Choosing a trip with your colleague over your own parents. Did you have a good time on your vacation? I asked Tyler, trying to hide my anger with a sly smile. But Tyler just stayed silent. So I decided to poke a little further. Well, I guess going on a trip with your lover is fun, right? But 2 weeks seems a bit long. When I said that, Tyler, almost resigned, started to speak. You knew? Yeah, I've been seeing Baker from work. She's over 10 years younger than you, and she's been comforting me. It was clear that Tyler was indeed having an affair. His recent late nights were probably because of this Baker. As I remained silent, Tyler, thinking I had accepted his confession, continued to talk. Baker is nothing like you. She's slim, beautiful, and she has a job. You don't compare to her. Tyler was obviously proud of himself. Not bothered at all. I responded casually. He seemed to forget that he had asked me to become a stay-at-home wife after we got married. Then, as if he had an idea, Tyler made a suggestion. Exactly. Now that my parents are gone and there's no one to object, we can get a divorce and I can live here with Baker. So, leave right now. I was shocked by Tyler's words. Until now, I have been a stay-at-home wife, always going along with whatever Tyler said. I didn't have a steady income of my own, and part of me lacked the confidence to move out and support myself. But after seeing Tyler prioritize a trip with his mistress over his critically ill parents, I didn't want to stay with him anymore. Fine, I'll leave right now. Goodbye, and with that, I packed a few essentials and left the house. A week later, I found myself staying at a budget motel. My husband Tyler called my cell phone. Hello? As soon as I picked up, Tyler spoke up. I can't find the checkbook at home. He sounded really panicked. But I left all the statements under Tyler's name at the house. That includes the bank book where Tyler's salary is deposited. The only checkbook I took is in my name. Did you check properly? As soon as I said that, Tyler shouted, "It's the checkbook in your name." That account had a pretty good amount of money, right? It's joint property, so half of it's mine, isn't it? After spending recklessly on trips and such, I couldn't believe Tyler was now talking about joint property. Holding back a heavy sigh, I calmly replied, "The money in that checkbook is from gifts I received from my family and savings from when I was single, so it doesn't count as joint property." You know that. Tyler, sounding frantic, responded, "That's a problem. I nearly spent all of my last month's salary and bonus on the overseas trip. I thought I could cover the shortfall in our living expenses by withdrawing from your account. Up until now, I'd kept my checkbook in a drawer where Tyler could easily see it. I had no intention of hiding it from Tyler, so he must have seen the balance. I've moved out, Tyler, so I have no idea about your living expenses. Maybe ask for an advance on your paycheck." I firmly declined Tyler's request. Then, just to give Tyler a heads up, I added, "By the way, there's hardly any inheritance from your parents. They were living on their pensions, and with the cost of your father's care, they were barely getting by. And you better clear out their rented apartment soon, or you'll be paying rent every month." My in-laws have been living in a rented apartment, barely making ends meet with the rent and the cost of caring for my father-in-law. My mother-in-law somehow managed to save and get by each month. I reckon my mother-in-law had her share of worries and stress. You're kidding. Tyler sounded shocked over the phone. So I decided to give Tyler the final blow. I have no responsibilities to help you out. You are on your own, I declared cheerfully. Why? Tyler's voice was full of disbelief. Despite kicking me out without any income, he seemed to have forgotten that. I hope they both lose their social credibility. I've got nothing left to lose. Whatever happens to them, it's none of my business. It's all my fault. Just help me out this time, please. Tyler pleaded with a voice full of desperation. No way. You're going to regret this big time. I told him that and ended the call with Tyler. Tyler and I eventually went through with the divorce. Initially, Tyler resisted, mainly due to financial concerns, but he eventually caved in and signed the divorce papers after persuasion from my lawyer. Tyler always acted tough around me and my in-laws, but seemed submissive around others. He was all talk and no action, unable to stand up to a professional like my lawyer. Our properties were divided equally, thanks to my lawyer's efforts. Tyler had almost depleted his savings on a trip with Baker, so he was strapped for cash. My lawyer predicted Tyler would be uncooperative, but in the end, I was satisfied with the outcome. As for what happened afterward, it appears Tyler is struggling to make ends meet, living from one paycheck to the next. He has additional expenses like clearing out my in-laws' rental apartment and paying rent. Moreover, he was dumped by Baker after their affair was exposed. Initially, Baker was ambitious and used Tyler for her own gain, but she distanced herself once Tyler was demoted and she got transferred elsewhere. Tyler reached out to me through my lawyer, expressing regret and asking for another chance. Since I've blocked his calls, he's resorting to communicating through the lawyer. This desperate plea indicates he's truly cornered. He's even asked for financial help, requesting money from my savings from when I was single, which doesn't benefit me at all. Even the lawyer was surprised by this request. I hope Tyler continues to struggle. He deserves it for his actions. By the way, I reached out to Baker through my lawyer, and her response was surprisingly respectful. She conveyed, "While I was with Mr. Tyler, my expenses were minimal, so I enjoyed spending his money. But it didn't last long." She expressed deep regret for everything. It became evident that she was never truly interested in Tyler. Rather, she was attracted to his status. It's sad to see Tyler fall so hard for someone who didn't genuinely care about him. Reflecting on Tyler's downfall brought a smirk to my face. Since then, I've decided to rejoin the workforce. Can you believe it? I took up a part-time job at a convenience store. It's my first time in customer service, and surprisingly, I'm enjoying it. I was initially concerned about being on my feet all day, but once I started, time just flew by, and I found it quite enjoyable. Besides manning the register, there's tasks like stocking shelves, preparing snacks, and various other responsibilities at a convenience store. I even get to utilize my housekeeping skills with the cleaning duties. The manager mentioned that if I put in the effort, I could secure a permanent position. Apparently, there have been others in similar situations who successfully transitioned to full-time roles. Being in my 50s feels like I'm at the midpoint of life. Despite going through a divorce, I initially thought my future looked bleak. But even at this age, I'm discovering new experiences and having a great time. I'm determined to keep looking forward and moving ahead. That's my mindset right now. If the ownership of this house isn't transferred to me, I'm contemplating divorce. I was taken aback when my husband suddenly dropped this bombshell. This house holds precious memories of our family, and I can't bring myself to let it go. However, my husband is threatening me, playing with my emotions. Distraught, I reached out to my father for help. My name is Emily. I'm 30 years old, a full-time housewife, dedicating my days to supporting my family through household chores. I married John 2 years ago, quitting my job to support our life together. My husband worked hard for us, but since my father-in-law's passing, my mother-in-law moved in, disrupting our peaceful life completely. Surprisingly, I learned about my mother-in-law's move only the day before it happened. When my husband came home, He casually mentioned it as if it were a natural thing. Huh, this is so sudden. Your mother is coming over to visit tomorrow? I asked. No, she's not coming to visit. She's moving in. So please prepare and clean up, he replied. In retrospect, I felt something was off about my husband's decision-making. Normally, such decisions should be discussed with his wife beforehand. However, in my case, the decision had already been made without my knowledge. The next day, my mother-in-law arrived with a lot of luggage, ready to move into our house. It's been a while. I'm glad you look well, Mary. Please come in, I greeted her. Strangely, she seemed displeased. Emily, why didn't you come pick me up? Isn't it common sense to meet at the station when your mother-in-law is coming, especially when I'm carrying big luggage? She complained. I explained that I didn't know her arrival time, but she retorted that I should have contacted her, labeling me as thoughtless. From that day on, my mother-in-law's snide comments intensified. As soon as my husband left for work, the barrage began. Emily, why are you sitting there? Do the dishes. You should have finished the laundry in the morning. That's common knowledge. I apologized and promised to do the laundry after the dishes. However, her comments continued, criticizing my priorities and claiming that in her house, there's a rule to do laundry immediately after breakfast, dismissing any excuses. I maintain my own daily routine. Why can't Mary understand that I'm not refusing to do the work? It seems she just can't accept my way of doing things. Even if I did things her way, she would still find fault and complain every day. The daytime hours alone with her were especially challenging. One day, I had an epiphany on how to end this living hell with my mother-in-law. Move to the house I inherited from my father and live in a separate home from her. My father retired early a few months ago, and as a result, my parents started a new life in the countryside. They then passed on their house to me. Fortunately, that house isn't too far from our current apartment, and we were planning to move eventually. Living with my mother-in-law has reached my limits, so I decided to talk to my husband about moving sooner. John, can we talk for a moment? I asked. He inquired, What's up? Anything happened? I brought up the house my father gave us and suggested moving there. Oh, that house. We did talk about moving there someday. Why the sudden decision? He wondered. I explained. Well, I've been having some difficulties with your mother. I can't bear living with her anymore, so I'm seriously considering moving. Surprisingly, my husband agreed to the move. After informing Mary, we decided to move a week later. I thought she would oppose, but she accepted our decision with a big smile. Goodbye, John and Emily. I'm so sorry for the sudden decision to move, she said. We reassured her, don't worry about it. It's wonderful that your father gave you the house. He's very sweet. Thank you. Please visit us sometime. She promised to visit, and we headed to our new home. I felt relieved. I wouldn't have to hear snide remarks from her anymore. From now on, I could live freely at my own pace. Although I thought she might oppose, I'm glad I consulted John. However, my peace did not last. While I could keep a distance from my mother-in-law and reduce stress, my husband started coming home late. It wasn't just late returns. There were days when he wouldn't come home at all. He was visiting his mother, defending his actions by saying he was worried about her. It became too frequent, disrupting my daily life. One day, I realized this couldn't go on. I sat him down for a talk. John, you've been coming home really late lately, and sometimes you don't even come home at all. Is that so? I'm just worried about my mother, he replied. That's not the point. At least let me know beforehand that you'll be late so I'll know I don't have to prepare dinner. Since you're a housewife and always at home, you can eat the leftovers for lunch the next day, right? So you're saying I should just accept everything quietly because I'm a housewife? Are you saying we shouldn't talk about this? Isn't that the truth? Housewives just relax at home, right? What? What are you saying? Anyway, I'm worried about leaving my mother alone. Ellie will be coming back soon, and I need to discuss some things with her. Wait, Ellie is coming back. Ellie is John's sister who currently lives abroad for work. It was the first time I heard she's coming back. But what does he need to discuss with her? Curious, I asked my husband. We're moving Ellie here to live with us. What? Live together? Yes, she kept saying she wanted a big house like the one she lived abroad. That's why I thought of letting her stay in this house. I don't understand. Suddenly informed of this, I couldn't think of anything. Is my sister-in-law going to live in this house? I was just able to escape Mary's bickering, and now his sister. Wait a minute. Why is Ellie going to live in this house? This is the house that I inherited from my father. It's unnatural. This is the only big house that would satisfy Ellie. The apartment where we used to live is now where my mother stays, and it's too small for 4 people. Don't just decide on your own. I never intended to live with Ellie. Oh, I don't plan to live together either. I intend to give this house to Ellie. What? Why? Because we plan to move back with my mother. Ellie can use this house freely. I was taken aback by my husband's unreasonable proposal and felt like fainting. Despite my repeated insistence that I had no intention of living with my mother-in-law, my husband eventually became furious. Can't you be a little more considerate? You can live because of me, so just do as I say. Enough is enough. Enough of your jokes. This house is precious to me, inherited from my father. Why should I give it to Ellie? Such a wonderful house is wasted on you, isn't it? I've already told Ellie that I've got her a large house. It's too late to say otherwise now. I wasn't consulted in any of this decision. Either way, I can't accept it. You're always complaining. Enough. Calm down and think. I'll go back to my mother's for a while. My husband angrily slammed the door and left. Left alone in the room, tears streamed down my face. I couldn't understand why my husband decided everything on his own. It's unimaginable that he intends to give away the house. I inherited my father's house, but my husband insisted on giving it to my sister-in-law, Ellie. Every day, he bombarded me with messages, asking if I had calmed down and urging me to come back soon. Each time, I had to firmly tell him that I had no intention of agreeing. Then, one day, he sent a message that read, "Hey, Emily, when will you come here and live with me? Stop nagging. I've said it so many times. I have no intention of living with Mary, moving there, and giving this house to Ellie. I've already told Ellie, stop being selfish. She might be coming back this week, so there's no time. Why should I give up my house for your family? I inherited this house from my father. Don't decide on your own. Who do you think you're talking to? Even my mother is furious. I'm at my wit's end. That's not my problem. You're ignoring my feelings." My husband let out a big sigh over the phone, clearly frustrated. Then he said something shocking. "If you can't listen to me, then let's divorce. Hand over the house to Ellie. Leave by tomorrow." At that moment, my love for my husband quickly faded. Threatening me with the word divorce was utterly despicable, and I couldn't possibly forgive him. To use divorce as a threat without considering someone's feelings was unacceptable. I couldn't let these people have their way. As I burned with anger, my husband continued to speak with a triumphant and dominating tone. "Listen, if you don't leave by tomorrow, I'll really divorce you. Got it?" "Wait, are you serious?" I asked, shocked. "Of course I am. You don't have a choice. What will you do if you, a housewife, get divorced? You can't survive. Enough, I get it. Good. Hurry up and move over here. My mother is looking forward to disciplining you." He hung up the phone with a confident tone, thinking I would do as he said. After that call, I made up my mind and decided to seek help from my father for a plan. The next day came, and I calmly replied, "Yes, everything's ready," when asked about the move. Curious about Ellie's return, my husband inquired, "By the way, I'm curious about when Ellie will be back." "She'll be back tomorrow. Why are you so obsessed with Ellie? Between you and me, she seems to have made a lot from stock investments. I see, so if you provide her with the house, maybe you can ask for financial help. That's so like you. Anyway, you need to leave that house today. It's inconvenient for all of us. Don't worry." "I've already moved," I said calmly. "What? What do you mean?" My husband seemed genuinely surprised. "I knew it. You don't want to divorce me, do you?" "Naturally. Without an income, you can't survive. But all of this is coming to an end. We're still married now, so that's why we're talking. Wait, what? I can only think about divorce now. My husband was clearly shaken by my words. You promised to move out of that house, right? And live with me? But you've already moved. What are you saying? Of course, I won't live in a house with a husband who decides everything on his own and a bullying mother-in-law. Huh. Why are you including me? You promised to move out for Ellie. I said I've already moved, didn't I? I did as you said. Enough with the jokes. Where are you now? My husband's tone was panicky, and he was clearly losing his cool. Actually, I'm at my parents' house. Why did I move to my parents' rural home? I don't plan on returning to where you guys are, I declared to my husband. He replied with a hint of relief in his voice. You should have told me that sooner. If I could just give that house to Ellie, it doesn't matter where you live. It would require $3,300,000, he explained. $3,300,000? What? I exclaimed. I put the house I got from my father up for sale. So if you really want to give it to Ellie, buy it for $3,300,000 and then hand it over, he calmly stated. What? Are you joking? I'm serious, he insisted. The house was still in my father's name, so I asked him to sell it. In reality, what I asked my father for was to sell the house. My father had always said, if something happens, contact me. You can live or sell this house as you like. I'll help you. As a result of the valuation, a price of $3,300,000 was proposed, which I gladly agreed to and put the house on the market immediately. My husband probably never saw this coming. Consumed with anger, he spat out insults. Why are you doing this without asking me? This is unforgivable. Dan, I retorted. I'm not asking for nor do I need your approval. We're getting divorced soon anyway. I don't care. Do you understand your position? You'll be the one in trouble if we divorce since you don't have an income. You're just a housewife. I'd rather struggle on my own than be with you forever. Listen, Ellie will be coming back soon. I told you, I'm relying on Ellie's money, didn't I? So what? Like I said, if you want to let dear Ellie live in that house, just buy it for $3,300,000. That is if you can. What? That's impossible. If Ellie has made a lot of money from her investments, I don't see why she can't afford it. I don't know how much she made, but that's too much. She can never afford it, my husband insisted, maintaining his domineering attitude. I felt it was foolish to spend any more time on him and unleashed everything I wanted to say. I'm done with you and this ridiculous mess. Did you think threatening divorce would make me give up the house? If you thought being a housewife meant I'd do whatever you say, you're so wrong. Hey, let's calm down and talk. I am calm. Isn't it you who's panicking? I won't be controlled by you or your family anymore. Stay out of my life. Go to hell with your beloved mother, you mama's boy. I shouted loudly enough for the whole neighborhood to hear, then abruptly hung up the phone. Of course, I'd had enough of these insane calls from my husband, so I blocked his number. I immediately consulted my lawyer and decided to request a divorce. It took some time, but the divorce was finalized, recognizing my husband's fault. He and Mary still live in that apartment. As for Ellie, they couldn't provide the large house she wanted, and she was furious, claiming this wasn't the deal and made a U-turn back overseas. My ex-husband's plan to seek financial assistance from his successful sister fell through. Now, he seems to be struggling financially, having to pay me alimony and support his mother. As long as he continues to live with such a selfish mother, his life will never be prosperous. On the other hand, I've moved to the countryside and am enjoying peaceful days with my parents. I recently started a clerical job at a small company introduced by a neighbor. With that salary, I can live comfortably. I plan to live here for a while. I want to be by my parents' side as much as possible to